Hello and welcome to the Info Media interview, which today receives a special guest, Captain Ibrahim Traore, President of the Transition, Head of State of Burkina Faso. Good morning, Mr. President.
Hello, Alain.
We appreciate your hospitality in hosting us today, January 30th, 2024. There's a pressing issue regarding 3 states, Mr. President. What prompted your decision to leave the CDAO? Could you shed some light on the situation?
As you mentioned, this is a significant and current matter. The decision to withdraw from these 3 nations was made last Sunday. It wasn't an easy choice to sever ties with the organization, but after thorough consideration, it seemed necessary. This organization was established in 1975. If I'm not mistaken, most heads of state in the ES, especially those who are military, have been predominantly from military backgrounds.
Absolutely.
The primary aim was to unite people, bolster development, economy, solidarity, and mutual assistance, embracing Pan-African virtues, which motivated the heads of state in creating this organization. However, as time passed, things changed. The organization has lost these values, and today the observation is clear. I think that for more than a decade, the sister republic of Mali and Niger have been at war against terrorism. And in Burkina Faso, almost a decade later, we are at war. This organization was supposed to create mutual aid and solidarity. We never received any help from this organization. No soldiers, no logistics, no compassion, but sir.
Peasant, we want to say, we understand that in recent times, relations have been particularly difficult that with what has happened. The coups d'etat that took place in these different states that you have just mentioned, Mali, Niger, and Burkina, you want to leave. And people say to themselves, is it not in reaction to the fact that they do not accept that you will allow coups d'etat, that you leave, and that you say goodwill, since they do not accept us?
The coup d'etat is going away. We don't do it because we want to. It is this way of looking at things that needs to be changed. You agree with me that having your states in crisis to carry out a coup d'etat and assume your responsibilities is very heavy. But if we are doing so, it is because we have a desire to bring our peoples, therefore, towards a certain sovereignty. Because we know the origin of this crisis, and I think we should be supported. People are proud to cite to 15,000 displaced in these. Counter there, but what are you doing to help them?
Nothing. Do you have the feeling that the military is more likely to solve this problem than politicians, civilians? Is that your feeling?
Anyone could do it.
But how can we explain it, that it is the military who take the hand and say we don't want civilians anymore?
No, the military did not say we don't want civilians anymore. It is out of duty of patriotism when the nation is in peril. At a given moment, it is necessary to make important decisions. If it happens that the military had the courage to make that decision, well, that is what it is. In any case, civilian or military, we are all children of this country, and whoever is animated, therefore, with this feeling of being able to liberate his country, he could do it. So this is not a military issue. Elsewhere, the military has succeeded. Here, too, the military can succeed.
So, Mr. President, what do you say to the CDAO officials?
So it's not a question of, it's just a mask.
Who calls themselves civilians today?
There are worse than coup plotters. There are those who kill, who gag their people. Under the silence, the LCO closes its eyes and ears. There are plenty of putschists within CDAO.
Mr. President says, okay, we're leaving the CDAO with him making one.
Plenty of putschists within the CDAO.
So Mr. President says, okay, we are leaving the CDAO with immediate effect, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. We are leaving with immediate effect, Mr. President. It concerns a lot of people. What is being done about the free movement of people from your populations who are in this country, the CDAO that you are leaving overnight? How exactly is it going to go? Because the texts say With all these factors in consideration, you've decided it's time to end this.
To begin with, you state that the texts say one thing, but they never respected them. It's done at the client's head. This is evident in Niger, as it does not exist anywhere in the texts. The ones who first violated these texts are these so-called Democrats. We are leaving, but we are not staying in Africa any longer. It has become one.
It's a little more complicated for those who make their own.
There is business there.
It is well thought out, Mr. President. This is the departure of the CDA.
Oh, of course, very well thought out.
It's neither a crush nor anger, isn't it?
If it was a rage, we would have done it a long time ago. I think we took the time to analyze the situation, weigh a lot of things, and finally decide if it's a crush. From the first moments of certain sanctions, the people were quite resilient, it must be said. So they suffered. Meanwhile, although we could have decided in anger, we've now taken the time to observe, analyze the situation, and convince ourselves of our strengths before making any decisions.
And you took everyone by surprise. Another element in this, we will say, this new way of drawing West Africa is the alliance of Sahel states, Mr. President. Is this viable? Is it?
Today, we must be able to awaken awareness that young people are aware of what is in their homes.
Notre mission, c'est d'éveiller la conscience. Vous le faites très bien d'ailleurs. Et j'apprécie beaucoup. Il faut qu'on arrive à éveiller les consciences.
Such an organization. First, we must understand our strengths and weigh our weaknesses. Following this analysis, we will determine if the AES is indeed viable.
Savings, Mr. President, if I may say so, are very integrated savings. You produce the same thing, you make exactly the same thing. Who's going to sell to whom? How will it trade and what will we do? Because they are not countries that have at least one opening to the sea.
Figures are one thing. The economy too. You know, we're here a very short time ago, but the economy has been pulled a bit torn apart by past regimes. Otherwise, we should have very strong savings today. This is what I say by analyzing our strengths. We realize that we should not be at this stage. We should be a long way away. When you take AES in terms of population, in terms of area, we are doing very well in terms of production. Normally, the AES states did not have to do anything important with regard to the agricultural product, food. Today we are aware of this, and we are doing everything so that we do not import anything in terms of what we consume, in terms of wealth, whether it is natural, when I say the natural wealth of that. There is wealth underground, but there is also wealth on the surface. People everywhere shout that Africans are dying of hunger, and so on. Projects invented here and there. For example, to give us drinking water. It is a large reserve of underground and even surface water. It is a natural wealth. We didn't plant it, God gave it. But it's very rich. People take it and transform it, so we're aware of our potential. The US has nothing to envy anyone for you.
The AES may suffice to be an integrated assembly which functions normally.
Perfectly.
Mr. President, when we look at the very concrete steps that have just been taken by these three states, we are listening almost everywhere. The fact that there is a need for him to be working with others on a topic that is the most important topic today, security. I want to ask Mr. President, today you have been here for some time already, more than a year. What is your record in the field of security? Before we talk about these three states in terms of security, In your case, in Burkina Faso, a good part of the territory is still in the hands of terrorists. What have you done since you've been in this area?
All right, that's actually the priority for us. As you said, it's terrorism, it's killing, displacing populations, grabbing land. But I can tell you right now that, as I was saying lately, there is not that portion of the territory where we want to live and that we cannot leave.
Today you go all over the territory.
Everywhere territories that were under control, if we can say, for 3-4 years.
But yet we are talking about more attacks than in the past when there were foreign armies on the territory.
Oh yes, for sure. More attacks are relative. Today we are on the offensive for most areas. We are no longer in a defensive posture. We go towards the enemy. We look for the enemy when we have decided to take our destiny in hand, as we like to say. This is quite an important and very courageous decision.
I want to ask myself the question of whether this terrorism has been going on for a while already in our territories, with armies that have come an extraordinary sum short of the quality military arsenal so far. How do you explain that all of a sudden you decided that all three of you are going to fight this without the others? Is that realistic? That's what makes it more possible today than with those armies that were there.
This is more than unrealistic. There have been several situations where we have had the chance to make the ground. Many other officers you will come across have had the chance to make the field and maneuver with these foreign armies on your own territory. Are you being restricted? They do what they want, which is even more surprising. Imagine you have behind all the technology that they currently have maybe satellites that observe everything. They had drones, helicopters, all kinds of craft, but you never saw the terrorists. Today we have decided to go to war, but you realize we find them every day, and we whip them, so there is a problem.
Wasn't there a real desire to fight them?
No desire to fight them? They wanted to, they could do it. Terrorists would never have reached that level.
So today we say, if they are producing results, if they are producing some results, it is because they have the Russians with them. There was Wagner that we talked about today. We even have the Russians who are going to open their first military base with Africa Corps. Are the Russians helping you? And is the raid better than that of the foreign armies that were so far present?
You know, with regard to Burkina, for example, we have always been in contact with Russia. And I tell you, the equipment that Burkina had, 80%, it was Russian equipment. Oh, right? Sure.
And yet you had a stronger relationship militarily with the French. How can you explain it?
Yes, because this equipment dates back years, maybe from the revolution. Of course, we have equipment that dates back to the years of the revolution, which is still fighting Russian and Korean, North Korean equipment, which is still fighting in our army.
And yet,
the army was abandoned. Since the 1990s, during the structural adjustment program, everything has been distorted. Soldiers showed the guard with sticks. We disarmed our well-prepared army. No more equipment, no more training, nothing. People just wore the outfit, and terrorism invites itself to the dance a few years later, and it sings all over the media. They are unable to fight, we will come to help them, and terrorism is only gaining ground. Today with Russia, the relationship is first and foremost strategic, and I think you understand that much better than we do. And with Russia, there is not this equipment that we wish to pay with them, that they do not sell. The others make restrictions on us.
they tell you you can't buy these types of weapons.
Sure.
Russians sell you everything.
We want everything and are currently being blocked from aircraft licenses. Some weapons will never be sold to us. Why?
We explain it to you, these restrictions, that's you.
Ask yourself, where is the friendship? What do they want? There are many countries, the Russians, the Chinese, the Turks, and the Koreans. So they do not us. There are no restrictions on Iran. Anything we want, they'll fill us in. If we can pay, we pay. But with those states that were there, supposedly our friends, there are restrictions. Some even told us they couldn't sell us anything. Who has lethal? I have. Oh, yes?
So even in war, you can't kill just anyone?
Kills us. But we may have the duty to pick up pebbles. Maybe even the pebble is lethal. Everything that is lethal that they do not sell us. That is their principle.
What about Russia today? What do they take in return? We know very well that there is no friendship between states. It is always interests. Everyone comes for his interests. So today, there is the fear of a certain number of people seeing that we have changed one meter for another. Now, I know you a little bit to know that you are not in the replacement of 1 meter by another, that you give yourself to the Russians very concretely so that they are there, is what they take from minerals. How do you pay for them? Are you selling a piece of land? What's the deal?
If that was the deal of really leaving one master for another, we'd rather die, because when we say homeland or death, it makes sense. It's just the media lying again. And unfortunately, we even saw heads of state who fell into it, who went and told lies, saying that mines were given to Russians in another southern part. If the Russians want a mine, we have the code mini, they come in, we give them the permit, they pay the taxes, and they do everything they have to do like everyone else. They don't come to pay you the military for the equipment, and it's with all countries besides, it's not the Russians. When you sign a contract to buy equipment, the military on the equipment, and it's with all the countries besides, it's not the streets. Only when you sign a contract to acquire equipment, you sign the contract with the training. There are a lot of Turks here. Why don't they talk about it?
Not to mention they specialize in drones.
We paid for drones with the Turks, with an assistance contract more than a year ago. All the time we are here, there are Turks who are there. They trained our crews in Turkey. They come here, they assist them, and they continue to train them in piloting, maintenance, and everything. We have a contract for a given time. When our men are done well, they will leave. The Chinese are here. The equipment that we pay for from China, they are also there to train in handling. So this equipment, is that it?
Certainly reality.
The ground to fight, right? There is no risk on the ground to fight. These are things that are actually developed in people's heads. But if necessary, they will come to the field to fight it. I can assure you if there is a need.
You forbid it?
No.
If there is
For the moment, they are supporting us in terms of training on logistics, training, tactics, and everything. They are supporting us on this aspect.
I previously asked the question before we digressed. On your balance sheet, today it is safe, because we have seen some movements of certain populations who are getting a little impatient. And as you said, the people are very resilient. But at some point, that's enough. So what did you do so that the Burkinabe could say, President Traore arrived and he solved this or that problem internally?
We're not talking about that. I have even said to some ministers of communication and others, I do not want us to talk too much about our conquest. Let the villagers speak for themselves, several areas. But often the fact of saying that there is no progress is no progress. And it leads the villagers themselves to make videos, to tell people it is false, you are lying. We, in any case, left so many years ago, but we have just arrived, we are safe. It is lately that there have been some reports to really confirm that the
people have...
Because you are there.
Going on the offensive or because of the V's?
GP. Indeed, I was immediately discussing patriotism and logistics. It was the latter part that troubled us. When you consider the Dubo attack last November, for example.
Absolutely. As soon as he...
There was attack and retaliation of elements in Dubo and air vectors. The next day, rapid intervention sticks made a movement towards Dubo with supplies. We continued, and we walked on the Barabule base. place where we have never been since 2019. This is where they plan all the attacks. Up to the border, they marched on terrorist bases. If there were no logistics, it would be impossible. We were going to sit down, plan the operation. It's already taking a month, more than a month, seeking to bring together logistics and men. That's how it happened. And to gather the logistics, let me tell you a secret. There have been times during certain operations here when we go to borrow weapons from neighboring countries, come and carry out the operation, clean and restore it. But today, this creates a very negative image of ourselves, because they are fully equipped and continuing the fight. That's how it is now. Many are equipped and positioned almost everywhere in the country. And that's also the logistical and tactical ramp-up, sir.
When we see all this with all the logistics that you're talking about, with the Russians that we're bringing in to inform, as you said, your troops, that's a lot of money. Is that the economy that couldn't last long with that?
Just one question, it costs a lot. That's why I said our countries are not for them. There was poor governance. There's the theft, the looting of our resources. That's what it's all about. Let me take an example. Today, there are patriotic support funds. The populations contribute and we maintain. The vast majority, therefore, volunteers for the defense of the homeland with BUD and the rest of the army that we are in the process of equipping. All these means that we are in the process of acquiring. That is there. That is governance, finances. There are resources, we have potential, but if it is poorly managed,
countries can survive by producing and acting rightly.
How does good governance manage to acquire the equipment? It's not to pose us, as you say, that we are given, we pay, but it's management. There are situations we actually manage because in all departments, all ministerial sectors, everyone is doing their best to rationalize. You know, there is this habit of corruption at the level of overbilling, because when someone makes elections, especially in Africa, here it's like a company, we will finance them. It's the habit. Here he distributes tickets for people to vote on. It's an investment, and as soon as it arrives.
Mr. Speaker, there has been extensive discussion about your tenure. When will elections happen? How long will the transition period be? Do you have an answer, or is it not a priority for you? How long will Captain Ibrahim Traore remain in office, and will he hold elections before stepping down?
I plan to propose a question before responding to you.
I'm not here to provide answers, am I?
It's a debate and it's fun. If today I decided to abandon the people as a conscious objective of our situation, what would you say? What would be your comment?
Honestly, even if you know the bottom of my mind,
all right, this is to inform you that it can be exhausting, often it is, but love for the people keeps us going. We eat here, we drink here. Since we've been here, we haven't taken a single day off, at least the entire executive.
when you say that politicians emphasize their jobs since others have fulfilled theirs, we want to return to democracy. We want to return to parliament with people who are elected. We want to get the people talking. What do you tell them? That we are going to stay like this, or that we are going to set up a new model which will perhaps allow them?
Profession they learned, or this profession. We do not want people to learn this trade and elsewhere and come and apply it here. We want to create a model, because the way we do things here is not the right way. It's like I'm telling you. First, there are many agreements that you see that we are denouncing, and many more are coming. The revolution in this area has not yet begun. First of all, this is why I say that our economies will do very well. People sign agreements for their own interests. Like I said, these are investments. Unfortunately, African heads of state, those who put themselves in these professional and political circles, have not always understood. I think the effect must have given them many lessons, such as those in their country at home. How can we give? I don't know how to explain it. It's inconceivable.
But for you, Mr. President, today there is no question of talking about the organization of elections at the end of the transition.
Yeah, we will organize the joint elections right now.
So you have to reset everything?
Apart from the system that is in place, that the elections must be reviewed, this concerns the whole of Burkina Faso. Do you think they are ready today to go to Solaire, to go to campaigns? There has to be a minimum of security. This way, people can travel freely in Burkina Faso to share their ideas with the Burkinabe people who will choose. No more distributing tickets. Electoral code reforms will disqualify rule breakers. Though I'm not going to dive deep into this, be aware reform is imminent. Buying consciousness is over. Our mission is to awaken awareness and ensure people never tolerate this again. Explain your political agenda if you think you can govern. Maybe after some time, the people will decide whether you should continue your term. While not everything will be revealed now, electoral reforms are coming. All Burkinabe citizens must vote for fair elections.
Mr. President, I revisit the AES, which is crucial to you as it represents your primary battle in this conflict. What are the relations with the other heads of state of Niger and Mali? And is it that we can envisage an extension of this AES even to states that are not?
In the Sahel region. This way, it's absolutely possible. In the Charter, it exists, and thus we made an opening. The relationship we have is fraternal. This is how we are awakening Africa, and it's happening right now.
You share the same? Do you have the same vision for Africa? Sometimes people are jealous of their privileges.
No, we share the same vision and execute the same mission. And if you look through our communications, it is evident. Everything we do aims to awaken consciousness in everyone around us.
May people never leave individuals again. Come and put them in those conditions. So let it be in Niger and Mali. Here, right now.
If you notice in our communication, it is always make understand what happened before.
What about today? How do we get to us?
How do we break the chains, a bit of slavery? So that's it. We have to manage to ensure that everyone breaks the chains of slavery, and that's our communication, and it's very important. That's a vision. Secondly, regarding our self-determination to be self-sufficient in terms of food, there are many things that are developed in our regions. For example, when we take crops like wheat. Moreover, when we said that it cannot be done in our countries, we are today doing it on a large scale in Mali. They do it on a large scale. Niger is underway. There are many other speculations that we are experimenting with. The message is to make our populations understand that we do not need to import. Everything can be produced for us here and even exported.
Produce and export within the AES. Is that today, Mr. President, you are not afraid for yourself? We lived through the period of Thomas Sankara, who is somewhat your model, since many compare you to him by your ideas, by your way of behaving, by your choices. We know how it ended.
Yes, you are right. And this is the question that everyone asks themselves, and it is the phobia of the Burkinabe people. In fact, when they think about it, they are always afraid for me, for my person. I'm not afraid. Fear, we do not know. We have encountered death on numerous occasions. We don't know what awaits us. God has kept us alive, and we are grateful Therefore, fear is unknown to us. We analyze the past, especially noting when he mentioned betrayal by friends.
Je pense que cette phrase l'a emporté.
Pour vous, il aurait dû être à l'offensive.
Nous n'allons plus commettre les mêmes erreurs.
Friendship, what does it truly signify?
L'impérialisme, comme il a dit,
We are determined not to repeat past mistakes. Imperialism, as described, is a poor learner. He searches and brings back his findings. We follow through to avoid allowing the repetition of past errors.
What is your current relationship with France and the European Union, Mr. President?
It happens as it should happen. If I can say any country or organization that respects this. But when you don't want to, that's when you want to dictate to me what we need to do. But what about you?
When do you speak?
nous sommes en bonne relation. Mais lorsque vous ne voulez pas, c'est là que vous voulez.
Of course, he's there working, no problem.
Bien sûr.
The French embassy is also present, continuing activities.
Je sais que vous avez suivi.
What about the Americans?
They're here.
L'ambassade française.
So there is no concern on this side, the cooperation continues.
When we are going to respect, as long as we are going to respect the fact that we want to break our chains and be independent.
Tant qu'on va respecter notre souveraineté.
So that gives me a chance to finish on that. We know that the CEDAW does not agree on the exit by saying it is good for us. We have learned again. I know the letter was addressed to them. Do you still accept negotiation? Is it possible that tomorrow you say, good, okay, we understand, we'll come back. If you return to better feelings or it's over, finish, we'll never talk about it again.
We must not make certain mistakes. I just told you.
Il ne faut pas commettre.
Our itinerary is a path of no return on what we do when we decide to. That is to say, the chains that we are breaking, it is forever.
Never again from CEDAW.
Now it's finished.
If we get in there, and I tell you, this is my last question, if we get in there, it also means that in some time you are going to attack the currency, which is the CFA.
Probably the CFE, right?
Mr. President,
You know, in everything we do,
Dans tout ce que nous faisons,
it surprised you, didn't it?
ça vous a surpris.
Things may surprise you again. It is not only money, everything that is a bond that keeps us in slavery.
Qui nous maintient dans l'esclavage.
We're going to break this.
Nous allons briser ça.
thank you very much, sir.
President, please, this.
Je vous en prie.
The interview is now over. Stay tuned to Afo Media.